Regular scheduled meeting of April 19th, 2016. Madam Clerk, please do the roll call.
Mr. Honeman.
Here.
Mr. Steele.
Here.
Ms. Domboski.
Present.
Mr. Flynn. Present. Mr. Trainey.
Present.
Ms. Gray Jackson.
Honored to be here.
Mr. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Present.
Mr. Starr.
Yes.
Ms. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, could you listen to the pledge the last time, ma'am? Thank you, Jennifer. There are no minutes of previous meetings. Mr. Mayor, report.
Nothing.
How is Juno doing?
I don't think that's fit conversation for a public audience.
Then we'll leave it alone. Assembly's chair's report. We've got a Boy Scout troop. Troop 268. Would you guys come forward and tell us your name and what rank you are in the Boy Scout troop? And let's see, who's the chairman? Is that you, Lewis, or who is it? Scoutmaster. Scoutmaster. Wade? Microphones on the podium.
My name is Jonah Haven, and, well, I'm a scout.
Good.
My name is Christoph Beagley, and rank is scout.
My name is Cody Bigley, and I'm in Scout.
My name is Robert Gordon White III, and I am a second-class scout.
Can you tell us why you're here tonight?
We're doing this for our citizenship and the community merit badge.
Well, thank you for being here. Wade, anything? Thank you. Thank you. Committee reports. Mr. Hall?
No report.
Ms. Johnston?
No report.
Mr. Starr?
No.
Mr. Peterson?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I have no report.
Mr. Evans?
The Homelessness Committee meets tomorrow from 11 to 1 in, I believe it's room 155 in City Hall.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Budget Finance Committee meets on Thursday at noon, and right after that meeting, we're going to have the SAP Review Committee meet at 1 o'clock in the Mayor's Conference Room. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, sir?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the AMATS Policy Committee will meet week after next. Don't know if we'll be on it, but it's, as always, the fourth Thursday of the month. And when we get to the appropriate time, I'll make my remarks.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Domboski, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Community and Economic Development Committee did meet, and we did have one of the member-elects present, Mr. Weddleton. We reviewed the residential use variance draft, and the committee did vote to move that out of committee and refer it to P&Z. I expect the formal introduction of that at the meeting on the 26th. So I look forward to get that process going. But other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Steele, sir.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Holman for the last time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was my privilege to serve as the chair of the Public Safety Committee for the last 6 years. The last meeting for April was this past Friday. We had a lot of a very busy agenda, as seems the usual. We had feral cats issue that I wasn't aware of until the constituent came in. Thank you, Ms. Gray Jackson. As well as some issues ongoing downtown, concerns from some of the business members. The biggest thing is there's a to-do left for your committee. Mr. Evans, thank you for stepping in as chair, and on recyclable metals and precious metals for recycling. So with that, I wish you all well, and with the Public Safety Committee, and I think it'll be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on down the agenda, we're now down to item 15. Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to incorporate a late on table item. It'll be item number 15A, and it is AM 224, 2016.
Is there a second? Ask unanimous consent from the body. Not seeing any objection, Madam Clerk. We've incorporated that into what we've got in front of us. So we're now down to item 15A, the same memorandum, AM 224, 2016. I'll need a motion to approve that.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Amanda, do you want to talk to us about it?
Thank you. Through the chair, this is the certification for the regular municipal election of April 5th, 2016, and I just wanted to discuss a few of the highlights of the election. We had 48 different ballot styles this time. That's one of the highest numbers since I've been working in elections since 2010. We had a significant number of streetlight service areas out in the Chugiak Eagle River area that led
Amanda,
to some of those.
Could I have you come to the microphone and speak at the podium? Because you're down there, it's kind of hard for the people down here. If you're in the center, we can all see you, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, so we had a large number of different ballot styles, 48. We had 6 different ballot styles out in the Chugiak Eagle River area for some streetlight service areas. On Election Day, and we sort of were prepared for this going into it, we did have some challenges with both the AccuVote optical scan equipment along with the memory cards that store the election information on it. It was something we saw back in February when we tested the AccuVote machines and the ballots to prepare for the election. So we were able to communicate to all of our election workers that we were anticipating on Election Day potentially we would have some challenges with either the machines or the memory cards. On Election Day, we did end up replacing about 10 machines across the city along with 12 memory cards, which is some of the highest fault rates that I've seen since 2010. We were able to get new machines or new memory cards out to each precinct in less than an hour, but across the city, folks were utilizing the emergency slot on the side of the black ballot box because of the challenges with both the AccuVote and the memory cards. We had a lot of challenges recruiting the election workers. This is something that we've seen in the past couple of years, but really came forward this year. We hire about 650 election workers to work one day. It's a very long day. Our workers are there from about 6 in the morning until about 9 o'clock at night. So it's a very full day. And we are noticing that we are starting to see election workers retire, move out of state, or be traveling during the springtime. And so we are having a hard time bringing new workers into that civic engagement. We did have 2 very close races on this election, the school board seat B, along with Proposition 9 in Girdwood. Proposition 9 in Girdwood passed by just 2 votes. I think it's a really nice testament to every vote counts, and it's really important to be engaged in our local election process. We've been working really hard over the last couple of years on bringing our local municipal elections, making them more present to the public, and one thing we've done is we've done some rebranding. We rolled out our Anchorage Votes logo. We changed our stickers, and we got a lot of positive feedback from that. In addition to that, we installed a drop box in Fairview, and we had 124 voters use that drop box to return their absentee by mail ballots. We were really excited to see folks so quickly engage with that new drop box. And we, over the last couple of years, have seen voter turnout increase, and we are excited to say that we've seen some of the highest voter turnout in a non-mayoral election. We had 24.77% of registered voters engaged in this local election. So thank you for the opportunity.
We have a few questions for you, ma'am. Mr. Flynn?
My question actually isn't for Amanda, more a compliment. So if she wishes to sit down, I don't want to keep her standing there all night.
Mr. Hall, do you have a question for Amanda?
I do not, but I do have a comment that I'd like for her to stand there while I make. I don't want to give you the opportunity to sit down. This is going to be my last shot at this as chair of the Ethics and Election Committee. And what I really want to emphasize is to strike some exclamation points into the comments that Amanda made in regards to there's going to be a very big budget item before this body at your next meeting. And the information that was just shared with us shows how important it is that you take action on that particular item. As she's indicated, the AccuVote machines are becoming a bit of a challenge. They've been used for a long time, not only by us, but by the state who loans it to us, becoming less efficient and dependable. And I think the timing couldn't be more perfect for the transition into a vote by mail. The recruitment of individuals to actually work the polls is becoming a real challenge to be able to accommodate that. So the timing couldn't be better. But I just want to say in my parting to Amanda, to the election commission, you guys just do an unbelievable job. And Amanda, where we've come since 2012, which is a year we will all long remember, is unbelievable. And I can't be more strong in the statement about, the fact that even last year we had an issue with two packets of ballots. But what I really want to emphasize to everybody is the fact that, yes, but we caught it and we fixed it. And that's what makes the system work. We're never, ever going to run an election that something doesn't get misplaced or mishandled, and there's nothing deliberate about it. It's just the fact that on that evening there are so many pieces of paper and ballots that get handled. It's amazing that it's not greater than it is, but it's really down thanks to Amanda and the clerk as well. I mean, all of this flows beneath you, Ms. Jones. I couldn't be more proud than what you have accomplished in these last 4 years and how our elections go. The fact that the community seems to be very comfortable with it. Nobody's ever happy when you say we found 2 packets, but we found them, and they were counted prior to the certification of the election. So job well done. And Mr. Stevens and your committee, you guys, it's amazing what you do, where you find the stamina to do it during the period of the election. But you people are just amazing, and the community can never tell you enough. Thank you, and how much they appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Honeman? Mr. Honeman, for Amanda?
Just briefly, thank you again, Amanda, for overseeing the elections process and every little component of it. And I know you had tremendous help as well. Couldn't do it alone. I'm looking forward to vote by mail in 2017 and to see how. I know it seems like there'll probably be a lot more pieces of paper to handle, as Mr. Hall said. So I can't say anything more better than Mr. Hall did. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you again to you and everybody who worked on municipal election 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Honeman. Amanda, I saw there was 94 people that registered outside of the MOA. Is that a larger number than we normally get?
Thank you, through the chair. We did have a larger number of folks who were registered outside the MOA attempting to vote in our election. We did see a higher number of question ballots from the Girdwood precinct, and it was really interesting. A lot of the voters specifically wrote on the question ballot envelope that they lived outside of Girdwood, but they were property owners in Girdwood and wanted to vote on Proposition 9.
Okay. Thank you. And I was talking to you earlier about the AccuVote system. And the problem is the memory cards are failing. I understand they aren't even available anymore.
Memory cards are very hard to find currently. We have been able to find batteries, and we've been working on replacing batteries in the memory cards that aren't working.
I think Mr. Hall's right. That's the reason we've got to push towards doing vote by mail, because AccuVote, one of these times, is simply not going to work any longer. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it.
And if I just may say one other quick thing, I just wanted to thank the team leads that work with us on the election. We have fantastic team leads, including Nina, Christy, Jackie, Dante, Emily, and Pat, and they really make all the stuff happen behind the scenes, and we really couldn't do it without them. So some of our are here tonight, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank them for all their hard work.
Everybody here that's on the election board, would you stand up so we can applaud you for your efforts, please? you, ladies and gentlemen, are why this system works the way it does. And thank you for all the hours you put into it. It's never easy. I couldn't imagine trying to look at that small type hour after hour. Thank you for all the work that you do. Mr. Flynn, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to try and match Mr. Hall's eloquence in thanking the clerk's office and Amanda and the Elections Commission for their excellent work. Obviously, a well-run election, particularly given some of the tight races. I'd also like to acknowledge that Justice Stour is returning again to swear in our new members. Gutsy call, you know. And I know that the members who are leaving us asked for not too much pomp and circumstance, but I do want to take a moment to acknowledge their service. Mr. Honeman, I think I have spent more time in your presence than all the time I've spent in the presence of every cop in the world. And I hope that's a good thing, but I do appreciate the perspective you've brought from the public safety sector. And Mr. Hall, you and I go way back. We first worked together, I think it was in 2000, I think it was. And
that may be why my memory card's beginning to fail.
And we've worked together in many different ways, and I appreciate all that you have given, not just on this body, but to this community in so many different ways. And you have certainly well earned your retirement, and I hope you and your family enjoy your hopefully greater time together. And then finally to Ms. Johnston, my little friend with a big heart and a huge intellect, thank you so much for your willingness to work with perhaps an impotent youngster periodically, and the way we have managed to move the ball forward when it seemed like the impossible was truly impossible, and somehow we made it possible. Congratulations, and I hope you are successful in your future endeavors. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. What we were going to do now is we're going to go through certifying this. We're going to do a vote on it. Then we're going to do the oath of office with the judge, because he's only here for a short period of time. And then we're going to do the summary organization. Then we're going to go through the traditional response we have for the people that are leaving, because I think we all want to say things about it. But let's get this portion done, because we only have the judge, according to the clerk, for a while. Please vote on the election returns. That's approved unanimously. We're now down to oath of office. So everybody is going to be sworn in. Please come down front. Yeah.
May I begin? Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's a privilege to be here. Craig Stour is Chief Justice of the Alaska Supreme Court. So the last time I had the privilege of being here, I gave the oath and I said, I solemnly swear or affirm, and then I continued. And several of the members said, I solemnly swear or affirm. And really, you only have to pick one, okay? You can either swear or you can affirm, but you don't have to do both. If you please raise your right hand. I solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Alaska, and the Charter of the Municipality of Anchorage, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Anchorage Assembly Member to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'll take my leave.
Okay. Now let's go through traditional. Mr. Honeman, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, congratulations to yourself, Ms. Dombowski, for a successful reelection, and to the 3 new members joining this body. Congratulations, and I look forward to seeing some great work coming from you all. I'd like to begin by thanking my wife, Valerie, who's here tonight, who's allowed and tolerated my absences to attend many nights and weekends of meetings and events. Next, I'd like to extend my thanks to the community of East Anchorage and my constituents who voted to give me this opportunity to serve. A couple are in this audience tonight, including my wife, Erin Paskar, I see, Caitlin Saxton, a couple of others I know. We've covered everything from asphalt repairs to zinc strips. We do resolutions recognizing people, events, and longtime employees and residents. And, of course, the biggest of these tasks are our budget responsibilities. Once we pass the budget, we in the legislative branch rely on those folks who are in the executive branch to carry out the services, programs, and enterprises and utilities of our city. Over 2,600 employees, some who work evenings, late nights, and weekends. It's like a choreographed production, some with some extremely talented and very hardworking men and women. To you, the Muni workforce, I say, please keep doing the fine work that you all do in service to our residents and visitors. These past 6 years, I've heard some bantering about the costs of municipal employees as perhaps too much. And to that I say, horse pucky. You're worth every penny you earn, and yet I will remind you that there is always room for improvement. And that applies to all of us, legislators, executive, non-reps, and those who may be covered by employee associations. To the residents of Anchorage, 3 things to remember. Number 1, the budget, whatever number that is, will always balance because the charter, our constitutional law, requires it. Number 2, the many services that are in demand and are required to keep the city of our size operating are not free. I've tried to figure out a way to keep service levels and cut taxes, and I have found that it's just not possible. And number 3, the best way to have your voice heard and to make positive changes in this city is to get involved. Committees and commissions, and yes, even running for elected office. Dear God. To the Assembly staff, Assembly Counsel Julia Tucker and Rosella, Municipal Ombudsman Darrell Hess, Betsy and May, Assembly Budget Analyst Rose Foley, and last but certainly not least, the Assembly Clerk's Office, the Clerk Barbara Jones, Deputies Amanda and Lisa, and all the staff. The biggest responsibility is the elections, and we addressed that fairly well, thank you, Mr. Hall, and soon to be my mail, thank goodness. But the day-to-day duties and business licensing, and I have to say here special thanks to Mandy Honest, who has helped so much to staff the Public Safety Committee. You're top-notch folks, every one of you. You're just all superb at what you do at keeping the citizens informed and well-served. My thanks to you all. And finally, to my colleagues, thank you all for your service. It's not easy at times, probably never was meant to be. Please work hard to give good government. Our community relies on your collective efforts to make that happen. It's bittersweet. I'll miss a lot of things, but Tuesday night and other night meetings, probably not so much. And did I mention my wife? I love you, honey, and thank you is probably not enough. Thank you.
Mr. Honeman, if you'd come down here, I have something for you, sir. We found a gavel for you. You've been our chairman for public safety 6 years. So there you go, sir. Let's see. Ernie, watch how much I appreciate you being on the assembly, working with you all these years. You've done a great job. You led us through some difficult times on the assembly. And thank you very much. And I think when vote by mail happens, your name will be on it because you're the one responsible for getting us to where we're going. But take a look at AccuVote is dying. And I'd much rather have vote by mail operational and working than wait for vote by mail, then wait for accurate votes to simply die on us one of these times. Because the system is failing. So thanks for working with us, Ernie. Jennifer, it's been great working with you, ma'am. You're always fun to deal with. We didn't always agree on things, but you always cared about where the town was going. And you kept the hillside in Girdwood to the forefront of our mind. Because we don't stretch down that for us, so I appreciate the work you do in getting down there. Thank you very much for working with us. Other comments from Assembly members? Mr. Evans?
Sure, just briefly, obviously welcome to our new colleagues. I look forward to working with each of you. As far as our departing colleagues, Mr. Honeman and I didn't keep statistics, but I think probably we voted apart more than anybody else on the body. If I said black, Paul would say white. If I said up, Paul would say down. And that was fine because he always did it. It was never personal. It was just a difference of opinions. It was always respectful. And he was always an amiable gentleman the whole time I've known him. And those qualities are far more important and needed these days than most ideological positions. So I'm going to miss you. You were a good opponent at times, and you're certainly a good man. So congratulations and the best of luck to you in whatever you do after this. And Mr. Hall, I don't know if your name is short for Ernest, but it should be. Because of all the public officials I've ever had to deal with, you are the most earnest one of them all. No matter what the issue, and sometimes there was a lot of more issues than you would think that you and I disagreed with, a lot of financial issues. But with every one of those, I knew without a question of a doubt that your vote was based on what you believed to be in the best interest of the citizens of Anchorage. Never about what's going to benefit Ernie Hall or what's going to make Ernie Hall more electable. It was always about the citizens of Anchorage. And you've engaged in some unpopular decisions and controversial decisions. But for those who know you, like I feel I do, behind every one of those decisions was what you believed truly was to be the best with the citizens of Anchorage. And you can't ask for more than that from a public official. So I'm sincerely going to miss not having you around for your guidance and advice. And last but not least, my South Anchorage buddy. The Assembly puts, Assembly members together. We have 2 per district, so you have an automatic team member, except for those that can't play well with others, and we keep them in solitary confinement. But it was a great. I was very lucky that Ms. Johnston was my sort of wingman when I got on. She was on the Assembly for 7 years before I joined. She had vast knowledge of the whole area and was extremely gracious in trying to bring me up to speed as feebly as I could, introducing me to who I needed to know, explaining the issues to me, and basically helping me along the way. I'm certainly going to miss that. Fortunately, your replacement also knows more about South Anchorage than I do, so I can continue my education even as you depart. But it's been great having you as a colleague, and I look forward to keeping you as a friend because many people don't know it, but Jennifer has the best scotch in town. So thank you for everything.
Ms. Gray-Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief because I know that 2 of you wanted us to be brief. But I'm going to start with Mr. Honeman because Mr. Honeman, I don't know if everybody knows this, but we go way back. We both worked at the Transit Department in 1983. And it was great then. And Paul, I got to tell you, it's been really great serving with you these last 6 years. And I'm really going to miss you a lot. And to Mr. Hall and Ms. Johnson and Mr. Honeman, I spent 18 years as staff to the Assembly, and I worked with 42 different Assembly members as staff. It's been an honor to work with all 3 of you for the last 6 years as one of you, and I want you to know that, and you're going to be missed. Thank you.
Mr. Steele, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the luxury of serving on the school board for 9 years, and that's where I got to know Jennifer a little bit. Would come begging for money, and Jennifer was always a tough nut to crack. But she knows the hillside, and she knows her issues. Jennifer, it's been an educational experience for me, and good serving with you. I'll save Ernie till last, but Paul, I think I spent more time on your committee than a lot of the members. It was always a committee that had something serious to deal with, taxi ordinances and all kinds of things. But it was always a good, well-run meeting and a lot to learn. So thank you. You will be missed. I remember when you were running for mayor, you and I had a nice little discussion at Wendler Middle School. I'm sorry. And let me see, who else? Ernie? Ernie, you helped me a lot. When I first came on West Anchorage, it was a good division of labor in that you lived in the south part and I lived up in the north part. And we all knew our areas better than anyone else. I've been trying to catch up. I usually drive the district most mornings just to see what happened overnight. But your leadership, your mentorship was greatly appreciated, and I know you will. I know you have things to do in your retirement, and I hope everything works out well.
Mr. Hull, you're next, sir.
Well, number one, I want to congratulate Eric and Forrest and John. Great campaigns. I'm sure you're going to do well. This is a great community to serve. I think you're all aware that I was elected, was serving on this body when I married my lovely wife, Sandy. But I would tell you this, Mr. Trainee, if my name is on the first write-in vote by mail, there will be a divorce in the family. So I've got to be very careful. I just want to close by saying it's been truly an honor to serve this community and to work with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnston, ma'am.
Okay, I wasn't going to say anything. First of all, to the newly elected, I know I've always said running for office is like walking into a room naked. And once you get over that feeling and get beyond your comfort zone, then you're going to be on this body. And one of the best things about this body is there's nothing between you and the pothole. And lots of times you can fix the pothole. Some of the worst things is there's nothing between you and the pothole because sometimes you can't fix it. But I congratulate you. I think you all have great energy and you're going to be bringing a lot to the body. Term limits are wonderful. I think we should have it throughout the system because I really do think that everything needs to change in time and no one is indispensable. You've got the body has at this point AAA bond rating. I want to remind you that. And I hope you have the discipline to continue to keep that, because if you do, you're going to be in a great spot for Anchorage to be growing in a sustainable way and to be able to react to whatever comes down from the state. And I think that's very important. And lots of luck, and I'll miss you all, but for some reason I'm doing something else. Thanks.
What's the bond rating where you're going to be at? That's all right, Jennifer. I think I know what it is.
But we raised one, we can raise another.
Well, thank you, guys. We're now going to go on to assembly organization, but to do that, we need new members up here. So take a second for our old members to depart. New members, look at the clerk. She'll tell you where to sit. You can. Let's take about a 3-4 minute break so we can get this done. Take a quick break. the secret ballot. Then we'll move on to vice chairman. So I'll now open up for nominations for chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Ms. Elvie Gray Jackson as chair.
Any other nominations? Hearing saying no, nominations are closed. Please pass the ballots out because we shall vote. It's not an option. If you can't spell her whole name, ask her. I'll tell you how to do it. I don't get one. Oh, there it is. How many felons voted? What how many felons voted? I was going through the
right.
felons. If you get 12 votes, we're in trouble. Madam Clerk, don't tell me there's 12 votes.
Mr. Chair, as required by the code, there is a majority of votes for Ms. Elvie Gray Jackson as chair.
Mrs. Chairman, if it would be appropriate, I'd like to do my comments about Mr. Trainee as chair before the next reappointment. Technically, he's sort of in the middle ground here of no leadership, and I appreciate the ability to talk about Mr. Trainee as a true leader. I didn't speak earlier for the trade-out positions of those. I made my calls earlier today, so it's tradition to not do the what do you guys in the youth call it PDAs? I think it is the personal displays of affection. But in Mr. Trainee's case, I think the exempling of pure and unbiased leadership comes out every day. Every interaction that I've had with him is driven by what do we need to do to get the job done? What's that? There's no strategy beyond just good hard work. And I tell you, who sits up here, I'm starting my 10th year at this. I will not do what Mr. Trainee is doing. In terms of getting back into the queue from that. I think that it would be easy to be critical of him, but he has work to do every day, and he works hard, unrelenting. As chairman, or chairwoman in this case, I think you take on an added burden of keeping us, the flock, well prepared, supported, and just generally keeping the progress moving forward. In that degree, Mr. Trainee, I think you excel beyond those that I've worked with before. That is no easy task. Calls before meetings, running cover for us on conversations that are delicate, and all that other wisdom that you bring. So I'm not going to go too much farther, but I certainly don't want the changing of the guard to be anything more than that. It's time for Ms. Gray Jackson to polish her skills at this, but she's coming on the heels of somebody who's very, very good at it. So thank you for your leadership, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Starr, and I have to echo your comments because I learned from the best. The floor is now open for nominations for vice chair.
Madam Chair, I nominate Mr. Dick Trainee.
We have a second? Yeah. Okay, Madam Clerk, pass the slips around. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Are there any other nominations before we vote? Seeing none, let's vote.
Madam Chair, there are a majority of votes for Mr. Trainee as Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If I may, before I continue with the agenda, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to cry, but I just want to thank my colleagues for having faith. Thank you. Mr. Trainee, do you have anything you'd like to say before we
Just
move on?
gave you a Kleenex, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. We're now down to item 16, unfinished agenda, and there is nothing. Item 17, assembly comments. New assembly member, Mr. Croft, any comments? Mr. Steele? Ms. Zimboski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I always have a comment when given the opportunity. I just want to say, I think over the last 3 years, having the opportunity to work with you, Chair Gray Jackson, I think you're going to do a great job managing the meetings and ensuring the public process is appropriate. I know that's both been a passion of ours. I've enjoyed working with you. And I tell people the story. Sometimes they laugh when I say it, but the first piece of legislation that I introduced, you co-sponsored with me, and it's that spirit of collaboration I look forward to in the next 3 years. So, actually, it'll be the next year, won't it be? Because you're almost termed out. Yeah, but I look forward to this year. I think you'll do great things.
Thank you, Mr. Zimboski. Mr. Flynn?
Just welcome aboard to Mr. Croft, Mr. Dunbar, and Mr. Weddleton. I look forward to working with you and hopefully giving you a little bit of guidance and learning from your wisdom of the lives well led.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Mr. Trainee?
Just look forward to working with our new members. It's going to be a fun year. Given what Juneau's doing to us, you're really going to be taxed this year. Besides what Juneau's going to do, we're going to be taxed to make sure that we make the ends meet, because we have a budget that has to meet the money we've got coming in. We're not like Juneau. There is no deficit spending. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. Mr. Evans?
Just want to say I thought that sitting next to you was probably more fun than sitting next to Mr. Trainee. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to welcome our new members to the organization. I look forward to working with them. I think we're going to do good work. It's been a pleasure serving under you, Mr. Trainee, for the last year, and I feel privileged to be here to witness the historic election of Elvie as our chair.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
Mr. Starr? Thank you, Mr. Starr. Mr. Dunbar?
I'd just like to say I'm honored for the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Mr. Weddleton?
I'm honored to be here, too, and I'm taking the seat that Jennifer vacated, but it would be brash for me to say I replace her. She's done a tremendous job representing South Anchorage and set a very high bar for me to meet. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton. There is one other agenda item that isn't on the agenda, but it should be, so I'm going to seize this opportunity to welcome the public to come and make any comments that you like on any subject. Now is your opportunity, and you have 3 minutes. I'm sorry, Mr. Honeman, you're done. That's it. Bye. See ya. Please state your name.
Move to change the order of the day.
And spell your last name.
My name is Paul Honeman, Honeman. I'm a resident of East Anchorage, proud resident. And Ms. Gray Jackson, I could have quietly left with my wife and probably should have. I'm going to take her to dinner. But I wanted to stick around because I was hopeful for this moment, and that is to say, you've spent a lot of time, and this body I know knows, but maybe the public doesn't, a lot of time honing your skills, not only in the local area, but one of the hardest working members of this Anchorage Assembly, in my experience, and at the same time you've managed to work your way through several trainings, seminars, and now serve as the treasurer, I believe, in the National League of Cities. And that's a huge ordeal and undertaking, and you've traveled on behalf of our community on your own expense to do this for most of your years. I know this past year when you were serving on the board, you were able to get some compensation for that. But, and it's just a tremendous thing. So in your last year on the Assembly, when you term limit out, as Ms. Jennifer Johnson said, I can think of nothing more fitting. I wished I'd been on the body to be able to cast my vote, but congratulations. And I do want to take a few moments to thank the Scout Troop for being here. This is Civics 101. I mean, you're just now witnessing a certification of election and a realignment of the Assembly. It doesn't happen all the time. It's a tremendous moment. Thanks for being here, guys. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Honeman. Just one correction. I serve on the board of the National League of Cities. I'm not the treasurer. That's a really, really big job, and I have to work for them. And I also serve on the Investment Advisory Committee and the Finance Committee. But my term is up in 1 year. As a matter of fact, my board seat is up in November, and Mr. Trainee hopefully will serve on the National League of Cities board so that our state can have a voice at the national level. So again, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Please state your name and spell your last, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Phil Isley. My last name is spelled Isley. And I just wanted to come down and go on record to say that I question the election. And the reason being is it doesn't really affect anybody sitting here, but in some of the races it was really close. And the last time I ran for office, I had a notebook that I took with me that was connected to the internet, and it gave me who voted in the last election, and it gave me who was supposed to be in the House. And as I knocked on 2,500 doors, I noticed that a lot of people that voted in the last election didn't live in the House, and the people that were in that House voted also, which means a lot of people have moved, probably out of state, but they're still voting in the elections. And in some of the elections where it was extremely close, that would make a difference with all the mail-in ballots. And I wanted to bring it to your attention so that perhaps you could address the problem and clear up the voter list, scrub it, so to speak, because you're getting people that don't live here anymore voting in our elections. And I don't think that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Isley. There are no questions. Anyone else wish to be heard? Please state your name, spell your last.
First name is Lewis, last name Watson, W-A-T-S-O-N, and though I'm with the Scouts who are identified by their uniform, I happen to come in a little early, and there are some students from some of the schools in town attending here because of an assignment from a civics class. And I don't know if you can acknowledge them by the raise of the hand or whatever, but I thought it's only fair.
I really appreciate you informing us. And everybody in the audience that's a student, please line up by the microphone. Sorry, that's what happens. I learned from the best. Please come on down and line up and state your name and what school you attend. And we're really, really happy you're here. And if you need papers signed, there's plenty of us to do that. Or we're not going to sign your papers. Thank you, Mr. Trainee.
My name is Logan Culp. I'm from Chuyak High School.
I'm Josh Peterson, and I'm also from Chuyak High School. I'm Andrew Cortez, and I also go to Chuyak High School.
I'm Glenn Gustafson. I go to West High School.
I'm Cameron Carlson from Chuyak High School.
I am Makerke Demibaeva, and I'm an exchange at CHS, Chuyak High School.
I'm Udo Fossum. I'm from Chuyak High School.
I am Hannah Boer, and I am from Chuyak as well.
Hi, I'm Hannah Russell, and I'm from Chugiak High School.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Perez, and I'm from Chugiak High School.
I'm McKenna Gerard, and I'm from Chugiak High School.
Hi, I'm Mona Pruitt, and I'm from Chugiak High School.
Hi, I'm Skylar Davis. I'm from Eagle River High School.
Hi, I'm Salam Moiva. I go to West High School.
Mr. Evans?
I just wanted to say that these must be obviously straight A students because they have selected the shortest meeting of the year to attend. It's brilliant, and I'm really impressed by Chugiak. It's my estimation of that school has gone up dramatically.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. If there is no one else that wants to speak before us, can I have a motion to
Move
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.